Welcome to the DePaul College of Law Blue Book Podcast, a series of podcasts designed to teach 1L students the basics of legal citation using the Blue Book. In this lesson, we're going to revisit Rule 10.3.1 to talk about parallel citation. In our prior lessons on Rule 10.3.1, we were focused on the aspects of the rule that taught us that citations in ordinary legal memoranda and inter-office documents would not need parallel cites. But 10.3.1 has a separate rule for court documents. When citing in court documents, we need to follow local rules. In all documents submitted to state courts, all case citations must be to the sources required by local rules. For a full listing of local rules governing citation, you can take a look at Table BT2 in the blue pages on page 30 of your Blue Book. In general, states are going to require the cite to the official reporter, followed by a parallel cite to a regional reporter or a reporter from the national reporter system. So how do you know what's the official reporter? Take a look at Table T1 for the jurisdiction you're interested in. For this example, we're going to be looking at Illinois. Some jurisdictions will use the regional as the official reporter and will not have a parallel cite. For example, take a look at Iowa, listed just above Illinois. If there are two more reporters that are currently publishing opinions, the non-regional or non-national reporter is probably the official reporter and would come first. If there are three or more, you might default to the second listed as the official. But for the final word on which reporter is official, you're going to need to consult local rules and local practitioners. Yes, there is such a thing as triple citing. When a case is reported in 3 different reporters and your jurisdiction requires you to provide full parallel citation, you will have to provide the cite to all 3 reporters. So for this example, let's just pretend we're going to go into the basic Blue Book examples. And we're going to cite to a case in our own jurisdiction. In that case, we're going to put the official reporter followed by the regional reporter. It might look something like this. Say we have a West Virginia case of Hatfield v. McCoy that appeared in volume 541, page 48 of the West Virginia Reports, and volume 23, page 456 of the Southeastern Second Series Reporter. Prior, if we were using this cite in an interoffice memorandum, we would cite to just the Southeast Reporter and put the jurisdiction within our parenthetical with our date. But now that we're using a parallel cite, we're going to put that official reporter first, that West Virginia report cite. So 541 WVA 48 comes first. Notice also that now the parenthetical is changed. Assuming that this is a court of last resort, since the jurisdiction is unambiguously conveyed by the reporter title West Virginia, we can eliminate the name of the state from the parenthetical as well, something we couldn't do before with our memorandum cites. What are the short forms for parallel cites? Well, like the short forms for ordinary cites and ordinary memoranda, you'll have 2 different forms. The first form is the short form where you might have the name of the case, and then the first reporter, and then the second reporter. You'll simply put the volume number, reporter name, at pin cite, and the second volume, second reporter name, at the second pin cite, period. Remember, if you mention your case name textually, if you'd put Hatfield in the sentence prior to this cite, you wouldn't have to include Hatfield in the cite. You would just begin with the 541. The id forms can take a couple of different formats. If you want to use an id form, where you need to clarify the page or have a change in page number, the id only applies to the first cite provided in the parallel cite. So here, id at 52 still leaves me with a comma and having to repeat the volume, reporter number, and at pin cite. In the second format, I'm assuming that my information appears on the same page in the West Virginia Reporter as in my previous cite, but maybe the page on the Southeast Reporter changes, so I'll note it there. The third form is appropriate where there's been no change to either page number. When you're citing to cases of another jurisdiction, you're going to revert back to our old formats of using that national reporter system. So when citing a case from State A in a court in State B, you're going to cite to the regional reporter. Revisiting our Hatfield and McCoy example, imagine you're now going to cite that West Virginia case in a court in Virginia. Your cite would now look like Hatfield v. McCoy, 23 Southeast 2nd, 456, with West Virginia 1978 in your parenthetical. You would not use the official reporter. The logic behind this is that if a court is going to have any set of reporters, they're probably going to have the national reporter system, not the individual state reporters, for all the jurisdictions in the United States. Therefore, the default is to go back to the regional reporter. Now, when we started this podcast, we said that local rules govern citation and documents submitted to state court. So, what Illinois rules govern citation? Illinois Supreme Court Rule 6 is our main rule for citation. We had a recent change to the Rule 6, and we now have something called public domain citation form in Illinois. So, any case cited that was decided prior to July 1st, 2011, you're going to cite to the official reports, and you may, if you wish, add a parallel citation to the Northeastern Reporter and/or the Illinois decisions. Now notice, the default under the Blue Book was to use all three, to have to triple cite here. But by reading the local rules, I learned that not only do I not have to triple cite, I don't even need to parallel cite. The cite to the official reporter is sufficient. For all cases decided on or after July 1st, 2011, I'm going to have to put in a public domain citation. It'll also have to have pinpoint citations to paragraph numbers. I can also add a citation to the Northeastern Reporter and/or the Illinois decisions if I find it is helpful, but it is not required. Other jurisdictions that do not use a public domain citation shall include the date and may be to either the official state report or the national reporter system, or both. So Illinois gives me a wide variety in the types of reporters I can use. It also clarifies that if I only use the national reporter system, I'm going to have to put the name of the court in the parenthetical, identifying the court rendering the decision. Well, if I follow my standard Blue Book form for a national reporter cite, I'll already have put that in. If a jurisdiction has a public domain citation, under Illinois rules, you must use that public domain cite, again with pinpoint citations to paragraph numbers. You may also provide a parallel citation to additional case reporters if you find they're helpful, but they are not required. Finally, the Illinois statutes shall generally be cited to the Illinois compiled statutes. But notice, the rule gives me the specific abbreviation for the Illinois compiled statutes. If you were using the Illinois compiled statutes prior in a memo, you probably wrote IL Comp Stat, as that's the abbreviation given in the Blue Book for the Illinois compiled statutes. But practitioners know to abbreviate Illinois compiled statutes as ILCS. So let's generate a cite using public domain citation format. Here are two excerpts from a recent opinion from the Illinois Supreme Court using the new official public domain citation. You can see the court puts at the top of the page the name of the case and the year, jurisdiction, and specific database identifier for this case. So this is In Re CC, a 2011 case from Illinois with the case number 111795. Unlike prior formats that didn't give us a summary, we notice that the official reports now do give us a summary of the case, but the court also includes a special note telling us that the syllabus constitutes no part of the opinion and has been prepared by the reporter of decisions for the convenience of the reader. Moving to the right, you see what the opinion will actually look like after you get through the summary information. Notice that there are page numbers that do appear at the bottom of the page. Right here, this is the bottom of page 2. But we are not concerned with page numbers under the public domain citation format. We're instead concerned with those paragraph numbers that appear in the left-hand column. So imagine we wanted to cite to some of the background information given in paragraph 4 of this opinion. What would the cite look like? Well, it would be In Re CC, just as we've seen before, underlined or italicized with a comma, we're going to put in our year of decision, 2011, our state, IL, and then the specific case identifier, 111795. I'm going to provide my pinpoint site by putting in a comma, a space, the paragraph symbol, a space, and the number 4, ending with a period. Notice that under the public domain citation format for a court document, I am not required to identify that this is the appellate court or that this is the Supreme Court. So now you know all of the basics of Rule 10.3.1 for when you're citing in a court document or when you're citing in a memo. You're now prepared to complete your Blue Book homework. If you have any other questions, please see your LARC instructor or a TA.